Hi, welcome. Today's practice is another advanced beginner to intermediate practice. It builds somewhat on the previous practice, but it stands alone just fine as well. Whereas last time the focus was on a general practice that incorporated stability so that we could mobilize from there, we'll add some balance work and challenges to today's practice too. And that will hopefully, as we seek to find balance here on the mat, help us out there when we step off the mat into the world and find a little balance out there at this time. It's also early spring right now, and so it's a practice of spring awakening, melting some of the icy cold snow here in the Northeast and bringing a little more fluidity into our practice. And we're going to begin on our backs. I do recommend a couple of blocks and a blanket to have them handy nearby. If you don't have blocks, there are household items that you can use. So books work, old dictionaries, encyclopedias. Be creative, use your imagination. And I'm going to come down onto my back in constructive rest pose. So the feet are a little wider than the hips, and the knees fall together in support of each other. And this helps us to release tension throughout the low back and hopefully throughout the abdominal region too. And one might practice with a hand on the abdomen and another hand on the ribs if you so choose, just to bring that tactile awareness into the practice. So letting the body settle, feeling the abdomen relaxed as the lungs fill and engaged, especially way down low as the lungs empty. Following the path of the breath in and out. Feeling the body's response to the breath. And making the relationship between the breath and the body just a little bit more connected, a bit more aware. You can add the sound both in and out as the breath crosses the back of your throat with the mouth closed, Ujjayi Pranayama. Abdomen expands, ribs flare in all directions, a slight lift to the sternum as the breath fills you full. And everything contracting in fairly simultaneously toward your central axis as the lungs empty. Find a pause at the top of your next breath. And then exhale out and find a pause at the bottom. And resume a normal breath. And before we move into some Kapalbhati, we'll bring some action into the cervical spine, feeling that spot on the back of your head where your head is at rest, and keeping the head on the floor, lifting and lowering the bridge of your nose with repetition. Aware as you repeat, feeling both the arc that you create in the back of the neck as the bridge of the nose lifts and as the bridge of the nose lowers down, that length that you create right up through the crown. Finding a normal, regular place to land and beginning to circle the nose in midair around that neutral place. Breath is easeful and relaxed. You might circle in the opposite direction as well. This brings a release right at the base of the skull, between there and the first cervical vertebra. Finding neutral again and allowing the head to gently roll from side to side. You might connect the breath to the movement here. Sometimes we inhale through center and exhale to the side, or you might inhale one way and exhale the other. When you next roll your head over to the right, give a little nod over there, the chin drawing both toward and away from the right shoulder, arcing up and over to the other side, repeating. And in this way, we're taking the cervical spine through a complete range of motion. Return the head to center and take some resting breaths. Another breathing practice, one which helps to cleanse the sinuses. It's called Kapalbhati Pranayam, translating as skull shining breath. So we're actually just cleaning out those sinuses, clearing the pathways so the breath can flow freely. And in this particular practice, it's a soft abdomen, relaxed on inhale, and engaged on exhale, all the breath flowing in and out through the nose. So we'll take a breath in together, and then we'll take 8 fairly slow Kapalbhati breaths. It's more important to find a rhythm to your breathing than to find speed. So breathe in, and let's begin. Resume a normal breath. In the second round, we'll take 8, but we'll take a little pause at the top and then a little pause at the bottom of that last breath. Actually, we'll breathe 8 and then pause. Here we go. Breathe in. Breathe in. Pause. Feeling yourself filled with breath, and breathe out. Pause at the bottom. You might even engage the lift of the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, the navel pulling in and up, Uddiyana Bandha. And then again, resume normal breath. And we'll do one more round of 8 with pauses. Breathe in and begin. Breathe in, pause. Breathe out. Pause. And resume a normal breath. Good idea to have a tissue handy as well. Sometimes things get loosened up. Okay, let's bring a little bit more movement into our practice here. We'll take the fingertips to the shoulders with the elbows up toward the ceiling. Just take a moment to feel the shoulder blades settle on the mat, and then begin to circle your elbows. And these circles can be small. They might spiral out and become larger. We're lubricating those shoulder joints. You might circle in the opposite direction and spiral in to a still place. Breathing all the while. And then take those elbows out wide and bring them together with a little forceful push. And then out wide again. And pushing toward each other, feeling the mobility of your shoulder blades on the back body with these actions. The next time the elbows extend out, extend the arms fully out as well. And as you exhale, wrap the arms around you. And let the fingers find their way toward the midline of your torso a little bit. Open the arms again. And take the opposite arm on top, whichever that was, I can't even remember. And right there. And the arms to the original position with the elbows up toward the ceiling. And then as you shift from side to side, try to walk those fingers down your back just a little bit, so like they're trying to stick in your back pocket. An integrated upper arm bone in shoulder socket. Left hand will come to the outer right elbow and resist the attempt of the right elbow to press to the right for a couple of breaths.
And after that resistance, we'll assist that right elbow in stretching up toward the top of the head a little bit more so those fingertips on the right can walk down your back a little further. And we'll take the second side. Right hand comes to the left elbow and resists the elbow, pressing laterally. Breathing, resisting, and then assisting, taking that left elbow a little further. Now take both arms and reach up, and take both legs now and reach out. Reaching through one heel and then the other. So when the feet are in this position, it's called dorsiflexion. We'll just call it flexion. And when the feet are pointed like this or like this, that's called plantar flexion, but we're just going to call it pointing. So flex, point, and you can do both. And then the body starts to respond with its own fluidity here. The heels are rooted in place so that the whole body responds. This can be called a swash or a slosh. Good. Soles of the feet come back to the mat. If you have a block handy, you can stick it between your thighs. If not, just bring on that squeeze towards each other to engage the inner thighs. As you're engaging the inner thighs, imagine that the feet are glued down but trying to press away from each other, engaging the outer thighs. And we'll play with engaging the glutes in various ways to lift you up into bridge. So you can play with the glutes, just engaging a little to lift you up. See what that feels like. Perhaps engage them a little further, like you're tightening a little more. And then full strengthening of those glutes to lift you. And this brings us into an awareness of the muscular tension in the body and the various degrees of the muscular tension. And it's a significant thing for us to become aware of in our practice so that we know when we need to hold tension, when we might release tension where it's not needed. And any or all of these glute tightening work in bridge. You can also add the arms and start pumping the prana through the body, pumping the lymphatic fluid through the body. The arms might lift when the hips lift. The arms might come down when the hips come down, or in that previous supported opposition practice. Good. Hips come down, arms come down. You can release the block and taking the arms out to a T again, and we'll let those knees roll from one side to another. And again, notice how you're breathing in this practice. Your head can roll from side to side as well if you like. And the next time those knees are over to the right, take that left arm either up around and over or just right up toward the ceiling and over so that you're resting your left palm on your right hand. And here's where I like to have a little support under my head. I have a little something in the way there. So I'm lying on my right side, and I'm going to glide my left hand across the hand, reaching out beyond the fingertips, and then draw it back up the lower arm a little bit, feeling the shoulder blade on the left, on the top, moving and gliding. Good, and then I'll take it up and over to the opposite side. Lying on my left side, and the right hand just sweeping beyond the fingertips and away so that you really feel the mobility of that right shoulder blade. And opening the arms wide, then we'll start to move this a little bit more organically into some twisting actions. The knees might lead the way. The arms might lead the way. Just start to move in any way that feels right for you. Drawing the body, mobilizing, feeling yourself moving. Encouraging sensation. And when you're next on your right side, just take a moment there. Notice how you're feeling right now. And we'll press up and over and onto all fours, onto hands and knees. I'm going to switch to the other end of the mat, and you can stay as you are. I'll put a little support under my knees. You're welcome to do that as well. Coming on to hands and knees, all fours. Positioning the hands so that the fingers are pretty equidistant from each other. And just for a moment, lifting the heels of the hands right up so that you can feel the grounding through those knuckles on the hands at the base of the fingers. Heels of the hands come lightly down. We'll work into some cow and cat poses here. So the cow, when the sternum and the ribs sink down a little bit, the crown of the head lifts, the tailbone lifts. And when you round the spine into what's sometimes called mad cat, that hissing cat, then the crown is down, the tailbone down. You might inhale to the cow and exhale to the cat, or you might reverse the breath a little bit. You might even take a complete breath in one or the other. So many different variations here. And then bring the spine into neutral. So the ribs are pulled up toward the spine a little bit. And start to wag your tail like a little pup from side to side. So as the hips are pressing in one direction, the ribs are pressing out in the opposite direction. We're bringing some real mobility into the rib cage, into the thoracic spine. Then we'll put cow and cat together with the wagging tail so that the ribs sink down low, press over to the right, round up toward the ceiling, press out to the left, and circle down. Kind of like the center of a jump rope. The head is at one end, the tail at the other, and those ribs are taking the biggest circles that they can take, circling in both directions. Continue to notice how you're breathing as you circle. And then after all these directives, we'll get into a little bit more of some organic movement that's sometimes known as Ganesha Mudra. Ganesha being an elephant, and Ganesha Mudra being the body being like an elephant's trunk. So there's just a lot of ability to move around. The hips no longer just wag from side to side or up and down. They can go in many different directions. You might alternately bend elbows. You might even come toward a modified up dog and back toward or to child's pose. Just explore for a little bit of time. It's nice to go in both directions. Finding neutral again. Taking the right leg back behind you with the toes tucked under on the mat. Press down on that ball mound right at the base of the big toe. And that will help engage the frontal core way down low. And then start to pulsate out through that right heel. Giving the hamstrings a little work, a little warm up. This can be done on forearms as well, adding a little more calf stretch. And working this action into a twist, take your left hand, wrap it across your abdomen, and twist those ribs to the left and extend the left arm right up toward the ceiling. On the exhale, weave it beneath you and reach to the right as far as you can. Twice more. Good. Next time you unwrap, take the left arm and reach it forward beyond the left ear and lift that right leg up in the air. Ribs are drawn up a little bit. Breath is fluid. Reaching through the toes, reaching through the fingers. Make a fist, flex the foot, bring them both down to the mat firmly. You can't even give it a little pound. And then up, with a stretch and down with a little force. One more time up, one more time down. Now left hand stays down. Lateral work to your right. Lower left leg swishes off to the left like a kickstand, and the right arm reaches up in the air. The right leg lifts up in the air, and I call this a low down half moon, very much like a half moon pose. And we'll try that when we're standing as well. So from here, it's a little core work, bending that left elbow, pushing off and coming right up into gate pose, Parigasana. You can take your hands to your hips here, see if they're at the same height, and roll your toes, big toe down toward little toe down. So we're internally and externally rotating the thigh bone in the hip socket. Internally, externally rotating. And then you can do your point and flex. And we can even do a little spring cleaning of that thigh, of the thigh bone in the hip socket by circling that foot around. Lubricating that hip joint, yay. And taking it into gate pose. So the left arm will come up and over. The right hand might come to the inner knee, the outer knee, maybe onto the shin, wherever it reaches. You might look down, you might look forward, or even up toward that left bicep. As you return the left hand down and return to your low down half moon, there might be a quad stretch in there. If you can reach back for the ankle or the top of the foot, do, and draw it in nice and close. If you can't quite reach, you can always just draw it back, and similar actions. Alrighty, from here, the foot might kick back and away a little bit. When you release, let the right hand come to that right thigh and help it to step forward right to the front of your mat and come up for Anjane Asana. The abdomen is drawn in a little bit. Let the arms float out like wings, and we'll take this into some lateral work, stretching to the right. Right fingertips might come as low as they can go, and to the left. How are you breathing as you move? Through center to the right, through center to the left. And then both arms up, palms together, coming behind the head, symbolically behind the heart. If the ribs are drawn in, we get a little more length through the low back and share that arc throughout the spine. Return the hands to the center of your heart. Take a twist to the right as the left hand pushes the right, a twist to the left as the right hand pushes the left, keeping them pretty centered at the sternum. Next time you twist left, open the arms wide. Take your left hand to your sacrum, maybe to the back of your left thigh, maybe even down to the heel. Low down, exalted warrior. We'll find this up high as well. Release the hands to frame that right foot. Lift the back knee and step back into a plank pose. Shoulder blades retracted, ribs drawn up. Knees come down. And child's pose. Hello, little. And we'll take this to the second side. You can stay in the direction you're headed, but I'm going to turn around. And the left leg extends behind you, pressing down really firmly on the ball mound, right at the base of that big toe. Little bend to the knee is my suggestion. Pulsating out through that left heel. You might come down onto those forearms. And now the right hand will come to the left ribs and help them open up to the right, weaving that right arm under to the left. Opening up on the inhale, weaving under on the exhale. Opening Taking that right arm forward, lifting your left leg, reaching through the fingers, reaching through the toes, and then making a fist, flexing that foot with a little oomph. And up, and oomph, and up, and oomph with the right hand, maybe bringing the left leg down, or on this side, try that low down half moon with the left leg lifted. Maybe yes, maybe no. Little bend to that right elbow and lifting up for Parigasana on the second side. Hips pretty stable. Internal, external rotation of that left thigh. Flexing and pointing the left foot. Circling around for a little early spring cleaning. And gate pose on this side. As we did in the last video, taking the pressure of the back of the hand to the inner knee, the palm of the hand to the outer knee, and resisting with the knee, that can really help us stabilize the knee. And coming down to that low down Ardha Chandrasana again. Adding a thigh stretch here, drawing the heel in close behind if you can access the ankle or the top of the foot. And then maybe kicking it back a little bit, bringing a little shoulder work, a little pec stretch into it. Upon release, that left thigh draws forward. The hand could help, or you could try just stepping it forward yourself right to the front of the mat. Anjaneyasana. Arms float down like wings alongside the body for some lateral work. To the left, to the right. Hand might come behind the head to help you bring length in there to the cervical spine. Anjaneya again, palms come together. And again behind the head to bring length to the neck. Ribs draw in. And a healthy arc to the spine. The heart is lifted. Open, vulnerable. Hands come down to the center of your heart. Breathing in. A twist to your left. The right hand gives a little pressure on the left, coming back through center. That left hand gives a little pressure on the right. And repeat. To the right and opening those arms up. Low down exalted warrior on this side. Returning the hands to frame that left foot, lifting the back knee and stepping back, downward facing dog. Check in on your dog. Bringing a little movement in. Little bend to the elbows, hands rooted, neck released as the crown reaches toward the thumbs. Maybe coming up on the balls of the feet and letting the heels melt gently down toward the earth. And taking a slow walk forward to the front of your mat for Uttanasana, forward fold. Block between the thighs. Just as we did in bridge pose, the block between the thighs, engaging those inner thighs, and at the same time the feet and the lower legs press away from each other energetically, engaging the outer thighs, and powerful pose. 2 forward fold. 2 powerful pose. Take this at your own pace. It may be slower or faster than mine. Going in between. Sometimes I think at this time of the year, springtime, winter, toward the light, into the dark, both of which we need, and up into Utkatasana. And if you're with me, we'll bring on 24 Kapalbhati breaths here. If not, you can come to stand.
or just breathe slowly and feel what you feel. Breathing in. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Pause. Come all the way to stand. And hands through heart center alongside your body. Tadasana, mountain pose. Bringing a little bit of mountain pose into all our poses. Let's do a little preparation for mountain itself. Mountain pose, it's important to be able to feel all the elements, all parts of the body from the ground all the way up through that mountain to the very top of the mountain. So in order to feel the ground beneath us, there's a helpful flow. And it goes like this. The arms float out and up. And the heels lift. They might lift a little. They might lift a medium amount, a lot somewhere in between. And then the arms come down, the knees bend, the wrists might even cross. The arms come out and up, the heels lift. And the arms come down, the knees bend. And when the lift occurs, feeling how you're centered in on your feet, that rooting of the ball mound at the base of the big toe, and feeling all those ball mounds at the base of the toes. And when the heels come down, noticing how those heels are tending to come down. I'm going to turn all the way around so you can see this from behind. And all the while you're continuing to move. You don't have to look at me. You might even go up there and start to wiggle around a little bit and feel imbalanced. That's okay too. Then you might want to back off a little bit and not lift those heels as high. Keep the breath fluid. Let's do about 5 more of these together, unless your timing is different than mine. Then your count will be different. Let it become a little bit like a moving meditation. Might even close your eyes for 1 or 2. And when those feet land, really paying attention to how they have landed on the earth so that you feel the security of the base of your mountain. And go up about a quarter way up the mountain to the knees and notice where and how they are in space and time. Play a little bit with your pelvic tilt, forward, reverse, and see if you can find a little neutral that's halfway between your unique pelvic tilt forward and reversed. So right about halfway. Allow the shoulders to come up and relax down several times. And when they relax down, it's just as if they're sitting on top of the side ribs. Bringing attention then on the way up to the top of the mountain, we'll bring that awareness into the cervical spine by taking the tip of the tongue against your upper palate. And when you press the tongue up into the upper palate, it tends to release the jaw and bring a length to the cervical spine and an energetic awareness that helps us feel that awareness from the base of the mountain all the way through the mountain that is you. And then the tongue can come to rest gently in the mouth. You might close your eyes and feel your unique mountain. And we've created this external form for the mountain, and now let's go inside. Notice. Breathing, feeling, sensing where you are, both in terms of your external form and inwardly. as well. And we'll work to take this mountain into some of our balance work and really all of our standing postures. So this particular sequence, we'll start with some standing cat-cows, and then we'll go into a variation of cat-cow that brings on a little balance component to the whole thing. So turning sideways, I'll turn sideways, you don't have to. Coming into cat-cow, the shoulders pull back, the sternum forward, the gaze lifts slightly, usually an inhale here, and then that exhale rounding the spine. And again, as we did down low, you might breathe a little differently. Just make sure you do breathe. For these next two, let the arms float out as you arch the spine, and let the hands return to the thighs with their presence being known to help you round one more time in this way. And where does the balance component come in? Well, we'll play just a little bit with some one-legged variations of cat and cow. So I'm going to take those arms wide and take the weight on the right foot and bring that left foot forward. This could be just where I head here, or I might lift that left leg higher until I feel just the edge here, and then stepping back to a lunge and really rooting those hands upon the thigh to round the spine. And twice more in this way, coming forward. And back. And forward. And back. And once rooted here, the hands pressing down and even a little slightly forward, engaging the lower abdominals here, even a lift of the pelvic floor to help float you up into Flying Warrior 3. Any variation that you like here, and stepping forward into a forward fold, Uttanasana. Rising through Utkatasana, powerful pose. Coming all the way to stand. And hands to heart. We'll try that on the second side. I'll come to the other end of my mat. And arms back. Right leg extends. Low, medium, or wherever you find your way. And then landing as you round the spine. And forward again. This is my usually less balanced side, but that changes each day. And on this last one, hands helping me, perhaps pelvic floor lifting right up into a Flying Warrior 3. Again, variations abound here. And stepping forward into a forward fold. And after this forward fold, you might play with some variations here. Yoga toe lock would wrap the peace sign fingers around that big toe and fingers pull up, toes press down to help you come into a forward fold here. Your breathing practice can help you fold more deeply if you so choose. Another variation. Feet are pressing on the hands. Hands are pulling up on the feet. Some good marma points here. Getting stimulated. A less potent version, but maybe potent enough, is to hang in a sort of waterfall. Then right on up through powerful pose. And hands to the center of your heart. Mountain pose. Okay, moving into our dance of spring, Natrajasana, with a flow that follows. Weight shifts to the right foot. Find the breath, let it help you balance. Left foot kicks up behind, or again, might be there, wherever it is for you. It might even be down here. As long as you're breathing and feeling your springtime dance through a momentary flying warrior 3. Into a high lunge and exalted warrior. So that left hand will glide down the back of the left thigh, the sternum turns forward, very much like warrior 1. And it could turn right into warrior 1. And that warrior 1 might make its way into a twist. Could be a prayer twist. My back heel is rooted. It could also be lifted, allowing me to twist a little further. My arms might extend here. I could even just back off a little bit, come into a nice twisted lunge, or straighten the front leg and come into a triangle variation. All fine and dandy. Then right forearm to right thigh, opening up into side angle Parshvakonasana. Side warrior 2 to peaceful. Variation, taking the hand, lower arm, upper arm to the inner knee and pressing that knee into the hand. Might come up and see how it feels to take it to the outer knee. A block is always possible, either way. Side warrior 2 once again. Back to peaceful. And this time forward, bringing that hand down to the front shin and really pressing the shin against the hand helps to keep that knee unlocked as you find your form for Trikonasana, for triangle pose. And the breath flows, the gaze may be down, might be forward, might be skyward. Once you find that physical form, go in. Be a loving and compassionate witness to whatever you find there. Return to side warrior 2 and to peaceful. Come down to frame that right foot, low lunge, plank pose. Maybe a little chaturanga dandasana. Knees might come down, coming on down. Cobra, perhaps up dog, modified up dog to downward facing dog. Hello, stick. Same side, so same foot will come forward, right leg extending back behind, coming on to the ball of that left foot. Exhaling the breath out and stepping that right foot forward, right in between the hands, floating out wide to side warrior 2. And back to peaceful. And forward, I might take a side angle variation. I might work on Trikonasana a second time. I could take either one of those to Ardha Chandrasana, or I might float right up into it. So my right hand is on the outside of that right pinky toe, and at least a foot forward for most of us. My back aerial leg might kick a little bit forward at first to help me counterbalance there, and then I could point, flex, many options. I could be as light as I can, whoosh, flow back to side warrior 2 as gracefully as one can, as one is able, and then maybe even a second time. Coming forward again, side angle, triangle, to half moon pose. And if you were able to draw that foot back previously in our low down, here's another opportunity, our upright Ardha Chandra Chapasana. And curling into a little ball to find stability so that I can mobilize and come up into my dancer, even momentarily, in Tadasana. Find your mountain. And I'll work at bringing my mountain into my dancer on the second side. So weight is now on the left foot. I'm going to actually bring my mountain to the other end of the mat. Another mountain in a distant place. Right foot comes in behind. Simultaneously, heart coming forward, left arm coming forward as that right leg kicks back. Flying warrior 3. Variation here to take me right into my exalted warrior. Warrior 1. Hands to prayer, prayer twist. Heel might stay rooted or lift. Explore. Left forearm to thigh, opening up. Parshvakonasana, side angle pose. Always adjusting for your own level of stability. Side warrior 2. To peaceful. And variations here abound too, bringing the hand to the inside, maybe a block there, to the outside, always creating that little bit of equal and opposite reaction to bring strength into the knee, or at least sometimes. And back to side warrior 2. Return to peaceful and frame that front foot. Hands come down on either side of that left foot, stepping back, plank pose. So maybe a child's pose here, or if you like, full-on chaturanga, cobra or up dog. Do what works for you in your body. To downward facing dog. Take a little time here. This can actually become somewhat like a resting pose. Left leg extends, coming up onto the ball of the right foot, exhaling the breath out, stepping that left foot forward right in between the hands, and opening to side warrior 2. And to peaceful, where I might come forward to side angle, might come into triangle. Let's just check in on that triangle. Did it a little differently on the other side. Not being symmetrical, we don't have to do things the same way on both sides. And again, finding that triangle and the form. Then going within that form and finding just what's going on inside. Not too much in here, working from here. And perhaps right up into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Playing a little bit with stability here before stepping back so gracefully into side warrior 2. A second opportunity here to come on up. Perhaps a little sparkling sugar cane. So say you're not coming into sparkling sugar cane, then you can just come forward into your forward fold any way you get there from side angle or from triangle. But if you're trying to come through dancer, we curl in, maybe even lift pelvic floor and float up. Whoop, and land Tadasana. Take your time here. Good. Land your mountain. Breathe and feel. Relax where you can. And let's come to sit. Taking a moment to center in while seated. Extend your right leg out to its own side, left heel drawn in to a comfortable place. Turn to face your right leg, right hand by the right hip, and begin to extend the sternum toward that right big toe. So sometimes we lead with the chin. Just try to keep the chin drawn down a little bit. See how far you come, and then cross that right leg, maybe even looking over your right shoulder. You might come to the thigh, the knee, the shin, or even to the outer edge of the foot, rooting the opposite sits bone. The breath can help you here in folding more deeply, or stay right where you are. One more breath. Coming on up. And a counter twist. Releasing the back of the right hand to the inner right leg and gliding out over that leg. Bringing the elbow to the inside and creating a diamond form with your hands. Using that right elbow to help you twist the torso to the left. Could stay here, bring hand behind head. Left hand could even be in the hip crease here, or you could extend out. And you get where you get. So you might find your foot, you might not. Just explore the end range of your pose. Then coming on out and switching sides. Hello there. Turning to face that left leg, left hand by the left hip. Breath is fluid and lengthening out over. Again, sternum toward big toe. Taking a little twist left here. Maybe finding the thigh, the shin. A little puppy kiss, the foot. I think getting the breath can help. I love you too. Come on out and counter twist. She's a part of all my practices. Yep. And bringing the back of that left hand to the inner left leg, creating, again, perhaps that diamond shape helps you to turn the torso a little bit. If you have another form that you like to find to help you get where you're going, bring it on. Coming back up. Soles of the feet come together for a bound angle, Baddha Konasana. A little help in releasing through the thighs. We start by actually engaging those inner thighs. So the knees are pressing up into my hands. My glutes engage. I breathe as I press down and up and then release and see what happens to those inner thighs. Let's do that one more time. Knees press up. Hands resist. Glutes engage. And release. Notice what happens. So in this pose, I feel in Baddha Konasana like my lower legs are like leaves on a plant. And this time of year really makes me think of seedlings sprouting up. So I like to think of myself kind of sprouting up from here. Let the arms float out and up. There's an inhale here. And you can bring your hands together in Lotus Mudra, which brings the thumbs and the pinkies together, and the three middle fingers are like the petals of a flower or a lotus. And then I'll draw those hands right down to my heart. And this will come into practice for the next 3 sequences that are just repeats of one. So I'm going to take my feet to the floor and bring my arms down and bring my head forward into a seated child's pose. You can keep your head down. I'm lifting mine a little bit. And I'm going to take those 8 Kapalbhati breaths. Inhale. And when I exhale, my leaves float out. I inhale the arms up into Lotus Mudra. And hands come to heart upon exhale. And twice more, seated child's pose. Big breath in. 8 Kapalbhatis. Breathe in. Hold it for as long as you like, but when you do breathe out, knees float down. Inhale, arms up. Lotus Mudra. And hands to heart. Let's do one more round. Make your way down onto your back. Constructive rest pose as we began our practice. Again, letting the body settle a little bit, lengthening the exhale somewhat over the inhale to help instill that sense of calm. And then giving a little thought as you connect to your physical body and just check in with what is needed here. And for many of us, an inversion is a really nice, yummy place to be. So you may take an inversion of your choice if you have a shoulder stand practice and can safely come into shoulder stand or headstand. You may have another form of inversion that you like. I'm going to take my sacrum onto a block, taking a supported shoulder stand. Once I feel my sacrum root and feel that grounding, I can take my legs up in the air. Very supportive of lymphatic flow out of my legs after a standing practice. You can even move those legs around a little bit if you like, even a little bicycle action. About 3 minutes in an inverted pose is super beneficial. And you don't have to stay the whole time in one pose either. I like to switch it up as I did in my last video and bring on a restorative version. We'll take the full 3 minutes today. Of course, if you need to come down earlier, you'll do that for yourself because it's what you need. And you're here to support yourself. feet return to the mat. If your hips are lifted, bring them on down. And check in with what's needed here. Maybe you feel like, oh, I'd love to do a little twist. Good. Add a little twist into the mix. Add a happy baby into the mix. These are just possibilities. I like to take a little happy baby into any time that I come to rest. It's a nice way to go to sleep, or our fake sleep, our time of integration. Helps me bring a little smile to my own face, and that smile then can be felt all the way through the body to the heart space. And stretching out for Shavasana. Making any little adjustments that you need to make. I'm going to take a 3-minute Shavasana, although I recommend 20, and anywhere between 3 and 20. So if you feel like you want a longer Shavasana than 3 minutes, you can just press that pause button. And we will come close the practice after these 3 minutes. And those little growls that you may or may not hear, my little dog calling me back. Whatever calls you back, coming back in whatever way feels right for you. Might be some small movements or something big and stretchy. I like to roll around my low back a little bit. And coming onto your side body. Resting perhaps on the right so the heart is lifted. This can create a pose that we sometimes know as seedling. You can imagine what kind of springtime flower you want to blossom up into your day with. Draw your hands to your heart, Anjali Mudra. And may you continue to dwell in the space of your heart. Bowing forward to seal in this practice and to connect with all hearts everywhere. Namaste.